Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I will start with our territorial acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather and land on which we are broadcasting from today is the land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We also acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. And a brief moment of reflection. At the beginning of this council meeting, we pause to think about the needs of our community. May we show wisdom and compassion in all our decisions. So, Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder for the approval of the minutes of May 29th, 2003. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Councillor Freeman. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. The consent agenda or consent motion. There are 3 items in the consent. Does anyone want to ask any questions or remove anything from consent? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Freeman and moved by Councillor Freeman, seconded by Councillor Rowe. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will move directly along. To our first staff report, which is the 2023-2026 final strategic plan. And I just, prior to inviting Sandy Little and Sarah Lewis to the podium to introduce this and to make their presentation, I just want just a couple of remarks that I wanted to make. And just to remind Council that this is a point in time that we're looking at, this strategic plan has captured. These are going to be our guiding principles that will allow us to face challenges ahead that we have not yet anticipated. So it's not fixed. It is something that is going to evolve. This will be the foundation from which we evolve and we build our business planning and our implementation of this. So just wanted to remind Council of the amount of consultation that has occurred, and we thank Sandy and everyone and Deloitte for the amount of work that they went into this. And it's over and above what's certainly happened in the past, so we're really grateful for that. And just remind them that there's a lot of data, there's a lot of input that has gone into this, and several our own workshops. There's been a few updates and reports to it as well. Our advisory committees have responded to it, and I would just remind Council that this is, as I said, it will be an evolving plan that as we go forward and as we discuss over the summer, the launch of the strategic plan and then what the implementation will look like, there are going to be lots of opportunities for Council to have further input, Council and the community to have further input, and particularly through your roles as Council liaisons. There's so to look to that as a place to continue to have input. I think it's really positive. There's performance metrics that are going to be coming. We've embedded community or climate action and accessibility in the UN sustainable development goals in this. And then there is a bit in there about the community conversations, which we are going to look to launch in the fall. And again, that will be another opportunity to continue to engage with the community and Council for you to continue to have input and be active on this. So, and again, I think that will be primarily through your Council liaisons role. So just want to make sure people see this as the amount of work that's gone into this and the point at which we're at, and then to say that this is the foundation from which we will move forward over the next 3 to 4 years. And with that, I will invite Sandy Little to come to the podium and introduce the final strategic plan. Thank you, Sandy, in advance for all the work that you've put into this.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff, and the community. The day is finally here. After months of work, engagement, and countless conversations, I am really happy to present to you the City of Waterloo 2023 to 2026 Strategic Plan. There were three things I wanted for this process when I started the work on the strategic plan 18 months ago. First, it was really important to me that we engage with equity-deserving groups as part of this process. I didn't want this to be token engagement or a checkbox to tick off. I wanted to ensure the approach met our equity-deserving groups where they were, literally and figuratively. It is thanks to our Indigenous initiatives, Anti-Racism, Accessibility, and Equity Division, including Sanjay, Paulina, Amy, and Brian, that we ended up with an engagement approach that engaged these groups in meaningful ways. Second, I didn't want us to start all over again. We have made incredible progress on so many fronts under the direction of past strategic plans. I wanted this strategic plan to build on that progress. Third, and perhaps most important, I did not want this to be a one and done approach. At the time, I didn't know what that would look like, but I knew we needed to participate in ongoing conversations and to follow an implementation process that was always evolving and bringing people together. This strat plan is a reflection of all of the work that we've done and reflects where we are as a community today. On that note, I want to pass it on to Deloitte to introduce the City of Waterloo 2023 to 2026 Strategic Plan.
Thank you, Sandy, and welcome again, Sarah.
Thank you. Your Worship, Mayor McCabe, City of Waterloo councillors and administration, it's been a pleasure to work with you and the project team at the city to develop this community-oriented strategy for the term of council. Our purpose today is to review the final strategic plan, and we are seeking your endorsement to allow administration to move forward with implementation to bring this vision to life. The recommendations presented here in the form of the final plan are reflective of the community's needs and desires, as the Mayor has outlined, and well as been informed by council, the community staff, and leading trends in municipal governance. The draft strategy has been in the public and open for comment for more than 2 weeks, and there are many changes accepted based on these comments and feedback, and we'll review them today. So we will review the presentation as a whole, which we will go through each element of the strategy, and we'll just ask to hold questions and comments until the end, and then we will take that discussion from that point. Not all slides, is specifically the details of the actions, will be reviewed word by word, but we did want to have everything there for reference as we go through the discussion. And so we will begin with an overview, review each of the elements of the strategic plan, and then open for discussion. Again, this strategic plan is a result of a comprehensive process that included document reviews, statistical analysis of the community profile, extensive community engagement, including involvement and strong support from the IIARAE team, visioning with Monitor Deloitte, and planning sessions with administration and with city leadership. So here's our summary or overview of the strategic plan, which shows the vision, mission, guiding principles, and strategic priorities. So we'll come back to this slide for our discussion, but this graphic is intended to support some of these internal and external communications and to show how all of the elements of the strategic plan work together as a whole. So let's move forward to review the elements of the strategic plan and some of the shifts and adjustments that have been made. So first, the vision, of course, represents the City of Waterloo's desired future state, to be a leader in sustainability and a future-ready community for all. Some of the discussions that we've had on the vision included debating some of the difference between sustainability and future readiness. And while these terms have some overlap, we suggest that they refer to different ideas about the city's future state and that each should be maintained. Sustainability has a specific connotation related to climate, financial balance, and social considerations, while future readiness reflects overall resiliency, preparedness, and sends the message that the Waterloo Way is fresh and innovative, open to forward-thinking ideas and partnerships. The mission statement is the organization's reason for being and reflects how the vision will be accomplished. So the mission is to actively engage, collaborate with, and respond to Waterloo's diverse community through bold leadership, empathy, and accountability. So there were some shifts in the mission to provide more wording, to extend the idea of respond, to link it with engagement and collaboration, so that it was slightly distinguished from leadership, because we had that discussion in the review of the draft plan. Community was retained as singular to show unity and diversity in the context of the community, although we recognize that there are certainly communities within the overall community. For the purpose of the mission statement, we've maintained a singular community. The term diverse was maintained in the mission statement, as diversity was a very strong theme of engagement throughout engagement, and it informs how the vision is realized. And learn was another suggestion in the mission statement, but was left out of the final version to avoid implying that the onus of educating the direction is on the community. And so that leaves us with the mission statement, again, to actively engage, collaborate with, and respond to Waterloo's diverse community through bold leadership, empathy, and accountability. The guiding principles are equity and inclusion, sustainability, integrity, workplace well-being, community-centered, and operational excellence. So there were no substantive changes to these areas, although enjoyable was added to the description of workplace well-being in reflection that just to encourage a sense of fun in the workplace and in the work. The strategic priorities. So there are some shifts, as you can see. The word accessibility was added to reconciliation, equity, now accessibility, diversity, and inclusion. And this was, again, a theme in engagement, and there were comments from council in the presentation of the draft to have an emphasis or make sure that accessibility was highlighted. Infrastructure and transportation systems. So as you can see, we are recommending continuing on with 5 strategic priority areas. It is really to, although transportation is certainly a substantial part of the strategy, maintaining the connection with infrastructure is recommended, and it maintains the overall balance of actions and activities within each of the strategic priorities. So we felt that there was enough relationship between those areas to maintain that connection. And those are the main changes, or those are the changes to the strategic priorities. The City of Waterloo continues to be in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, and so they are maintained throughout the report and will continue to be pictured alongside the strategic priorities. So for reconciliation, equity, accessibility, diversity, and inclusion, there have been some additions and adjustments. I'll just highlight these verbally because there is quite a lot of text in terms of the actions, but there is more of an emphasis on the proactive response to identity-based discrimination, and that is after reflection and work on the related to the delegation at the draft presentation. And there was the addition of accessibility throughout, also in response to council's comments. For the second strategic priority, there were some shifts within the action areas, some stronger language to support data-driven solutions to environmental sustainability and climate action. And then we also adjusted some language around naturalization efforts, just to align with some of the internal discussion about creating natural areas throughout the city. Now we move on to complete community. So there were some shifts here. We did receive a comment from related to age friendliness and how to incorporate that overall in the strategic plan. And so there's been the addition of some detail on creating age-friendly cities and communities in the complete community area. With respect to infrastructure and transportation systems, there were no substantive changes, just some minor wording updates. And with respect to innovation and future readiness, there's more emphasis now on partnerships with post-secondary institutions included under the first objective. And that, again, aligns with the overall vision for the community related to future readiness. So now what I'd like to do is to just move back. Oh, it looks like I'm going to need to do this step by step. My apologies. So what we would, I also want to make a few comments overall on the performance measurement approach with which the mayor mentioned. So as we take a look at the overall picture, our patience, thank you. There we are. Okay. As we take a look at the overall picture and we prepare to open for your reflections on the final document and these shifts that were made to reflect community input, we should also mention the addition of the performance measurement section in the strategic plan. And so this outlines the contents of what will be the strategic plan progress report. So it will include monitoring 3-year business plan initiatives and reviewing the use of other metrics, such as specifically the measures for monitoring the UN Sustainable Development Goals, including those in measurement and localizing these measures, and also community conversations. And so we've had some discussion on that already, but community conversations will reflect the perspectives of the community throughout implementation and also provide a venue for staff engagement. Staff engagement was an important part of the strategic planning process, and this graphic will play a role in how the plan is communicated throughout implementation. Now we would like to invite your worship, Mayor McCabe, to open the floor for council's comments.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So council, comments, questions? Okay. Royce is ready? Okay. Over to you, Councillor Bodley.
Thank you. Thank you. Through Mayor McCabe. At the draft strategic plan session, we received a delegation from an anti-Palestinian racism group advocating for that specific language to be included within Objection 4 under Action Anti-Racism. Excuse me. Given some of the particular and acute needs of that community, and I see that it hasn't been included in here, and so I'm wondering if we have connected with Sanjay's team. I'm not going to try and do the acronym, and what their comments were about that delegation.
Mm-hmm. So, if through you, Mayor, to Councillor Bodley. There certainly have been conversations with IIARAE on the topic of the delegation, and there have been adjustments overall to the wording within reconciliation, equity, accessibility, diversity, and inclusion. They are maintained at, I would say, without specific wording to any particular group, which is, in our view, appropriate for this type of document. But there have been consideration of those comments, and there were some adjustments made in response.
Thank you, Sarah. And just a reminder, I mean, as we dig in and start on the implementation and the business planning parts of this, the action plans may pick up some of the questions. They may pick up things like what you're asking about or what you may be envisioning. So did you have a follow-up or no? Okay, Councillor Hamner.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mayor, and to the team that's put it together, I love it. I absolutely love it. You've done a fantastic job in pulling together all the different comments and pieces that we've talked about. It feels very action-oriented, which is something I'm always really looking for in a strategic plan, yet gives us the concretes of what we can build upon. I always get it, the devil's in the detail, and there's a lot more work as you go into the tactical plan to implement. To Councillor Bodley's comment, I think there are many groups that we heard from, and I keep thinking in my mind that's where we'll start to see them in the implementation, the tactical plans, and those are going to change from one year to the next. I think I liked the inclusion of pieces and modifications in the 5 priorities, and I like that we stuck to 5. It's a little hard when you start having to remember more than 5. There also is a good link, though, between our previous strategic plan and this. So to the points, Sandy, that you made earlier, you wanting to make sure that we're building from one to the next and not starting from scratch. So I think that's a good piece. I always try to look at it from seeing different people, seeing the community in it, seeing staff in it, seeing council in it. And I think you may not see yourself in all parts of it. I think we'd be challenged that people couldn't see themselves somewhere in parts of what we've got so far. I think there'll be lots as I said, as we go to implement. I like the idea that innovation is threading itself through, and the future readiness, because the other backdrop for us is looking at what the region is doing from its strategic plan, as well as some of our academic institutions and larger employers too. And I think they're all knitting together fairly well for that foundation for our community. So congratulations. I think it's a great start, and I look forward to how we start seeing the budget go against this, because it's going to be a key part of our implementation strategy. So I guess more comment than question.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor. That's a really helpful walkthrough for it. I appreciate that. Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I echo Councillor Hammer's comments about it being an exciting document, and I appreciate that it's a living document. And I think it's really important for us to stress that in our outward communications. And so there's a couple of things that I just want to dig into briefly. And they really center around the importance of coherence and integration in terms of how we execute the strategic plan, and the importance of a measurement framework that helps us both track and communicate our progress against the plan. So while I could go into specific strategic priorities or objectives, I don't feel like this is the time or place to do that. So I just want to talk very briefly about that tie with the previous strategic plan and some comments that came through directly to council, and I think were captured also in the report, about how we capture the progress from the previous strat plan, and that maybe we might want to be able to show where things are incremental and that we're scaffolding. There might be some interesting language that we can use in the measurement strategy to show that. And then also to really dig into how our business plans can be integrated, and highlighting where things are deeply catalytic. So we're allowing things to build on each other and create new windows of opportunity. It's really, I think, something that can be captured in a measurement framework. And then the last thing has to do with outcomes that we might want to be tracking. And again, being goal-oriented as a city, nodding to that desire to have bold leadership, but really highlighting where the things that we're doing actually could be transformative, so that we have our eye on the ball and that we're tracking towards things that will really make people's lives better, and could be, really part of that picture of a future-ready city. Lots of little things that I'm happy to share with staff as we move forward, but I'll save that for later. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Vasek.
Thanks. I don't want to go without the opportunity of saying something. I don't really have any substantial comments on it right now, but just a thank you for all that you have both done and your teams. And I very much appreciate the context of having emerged from the pandemic. I thought it was that was really important to me, and it was a really appropriate place, I thought, to put it in the introduction and the executive summary as a way to ground us in the context. So thank you for that, and good placement. And the second piece was I had a chance to ask about communities versus community to Sandy over the weekend. And I really, it's like I said to Sandy, it's a long discussion. We could just have a long theoretical and academic discussion about it. But I appreciate how you've acknowledged that there are communities, and within those communities there are diverse communities that make up our sort of one city, which we're referring to in the strategic plan document as a community, which is fine. But I think what that said to me, your response and the rationale that you've shared here, is just that through the whole process, while not everything, like others have said, is reflected explicitly in the document, it is noted and taken away for proper implementation. So thank you for that. And just again, echoing what everybody else has said, is that it is a living document. I think the addition of community conversations is this time is really great and an ongoing way to build on this for then the next strategic planning process, which I learned there's already a computer file for. So thank you for thinking ahead, Sandy. I think it really shows that while we didn't pass the strategic director position last council term, which also that was I didn't vote for it, that we are lucky to have that position now and really grounded in what built from the last strategic plan. That feels good to me, as having been here last term. How it felt to other people then is probably different, but I feel really positive about where we're coming, where we're going, and the learning that will happen along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vasek. Councillor Rowe, and then we'll go. Yeah.
Through you, Chair. I also wanted to thank you for the hard work. This is a fantastic document, and I found it very encouraging. As I read through the document and as I look at our strategic priorities and our guiding principles, just how prominent that equity, inclusion, and diversity is. And I think we're all very aware of the tone that's out there now and the pushback on inclusion and diversity. So to have this document and have it being led by these incredibly important principles is so encouraging to me. And I think it's such a reflection of who the city of Waterloo is, and that we are leading because that is what they're asking for. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Freeman.
Excuse me, through you, Mayor McCabe. Thank you, staff and everyone who worked on this document. And just more high level, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the fact that I think actually in all of the 20 years that I've been on councils have had willingnesses to build on the work that we've done before, as opposed to coming in and saying everything that was done in the past was offside and let's start all over again. And I think that's a real testament. You know, we had 50% turnover in this election, and yet there's still this incredible willingness in fact, the last few elections we've had turnover rate, and so there's always been this election or this willingness on behalf of councils to say there really maybe is something in Waterloo, and that we have citizens that are looking to us to build on what we've done. So the feedback we're getting from the broader citizenry is saying, please keep doing this and also do this, or modify your thinking in this area, but keep going. And then similarly on the staff side, I just want to thank all of staff. This isn't a one-person job. I know that Sandy has fronted the staff contingency on this front, but I think it's also really a strong affirmation that staff are doing really good work in the city of Waterloo and have been for a very long time. And so I just want to send that out to staff as well. And I don't have any changes to the plan or recommendations. I really appreciate Councillor Vasek's comments around the sustainability, permanent staff position around sustainability, and it has been a vision to make happen for a while. And I think it's also a reflection of hard decisions that we make at budget time. And so I agree with Councillor Vasek's comment that it's nice to finally have it in place. So I just wanted to share those broader thoughts.
Thank you very much, Councillor Freeman. I think that's a really important point about the continuation from Waterloo has a healthy turnover. I think it's a healthy turnover. of council. So, but it is, you're right, it is good that there's still that ability to continue the strategic plan and build on it rather than tear things down. So, any other comments or questions from anyone? No? Okay. Well, I think our next, I'll maybe turn to Sandy if she has some comments on the next step, but I just say that thank you again, Sarah, and to the team at Deloitte, but thank you to Sandy, who really shouldered the bulk of this work and led it with our staff. And thank you to the community who took, there's been a phenomenal engagement. So thank you to the community for the time that they took to engage in one of the various methods that they could, and particularly to, was it Pam Rodriguez? Am I getting her name right?
Pamela Rojas.
Pamela Rojas, apologies for that, who led some of the facilitated sessions with our equity deserving groups. I had to watch one of them instead of being able to attend in person. I had to watch it on Zoom because I had COVID, but even over the laptop, I could tell how engaged she was and what an excellent facilitator she was, even virtually. And I just want to thank her and everyone who participated for the work that they did. And I'm really looking forward. A strategic plans is not really worth the paper it's written on unless we have an implementation plan. And really look forward to the kickoff of the community conversations in the fall and working with staff to plan that and the launch of this as we look to the fall, and then the implementation from there on in. So thank you very much. And I guess over to you, Sandy or Sarah, for some final comments.
Sure. Sarah, do you have anything else you want to add?
I would just say, again, warm thanks to it's been such a pleasure to work with the City of Waterloo. And if I can just agree that it is certainly staff and have just shown such leadership, it's just really been a pleasure to be part of your process and to help you to realize this vision and put it down on paper. And now the work begins. Can't be more excited to see how you bring this ambitious vision to life. Sandy?
Okay, just in closing, it's funny because when I was coming into council, I was super nervous. There was a lot of butterflies, and someone said, it's usually a sign that you care. And obviously, hopefully, my passion for this work has really come throughout this process. So as the mayor alluded, we do have some important next steps to take in this evolving process. I will be working closely with corporate communications and financial planning staff on how to better integrate the strategic plan, 3-year budget, and the business planning processes. Throughout the summer and fall months, we will be exploring performance measurement metrics, considering the comments that were made today. We will be launching the strategic plan in the fall and looking to release details in the coming months around our community conversations initiative, including ways to involve council and the broader community. I want to take this opportunity to thank the community, staff, and CMT for their ongoing participation and engagement in this work. It's not easy work, but people were willing to engage and participate in this process. And finally, a very big thank you to council. It is your passion, enthusiasm, and leadership that led us to develop a plan that will enable us to continue to chart a path forward as the City of Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. Okay, thank you very much. No, that's. Oh, sorry. Yes, we need to adopt it. I was. Oh my, yeah. I was going to move on to the tender items. Okay, who would like to move this strategic plan? All of us. Okay. Well, we'll take Councillor Rowe, moved by Councillor Rowe and seconded by Councillor Freeman. All in favor? A very enthusiastic, unanimously approved strategic plan. Thank you very much. I don't know there's too many staff that actually dress in our colors when they come to present, but yeah. But Sandy did say she has a real passion for the subject. So thank you very much again. Okay, so now we will move on to the next item, which is the award of tender RFT 23-15 High Point Avenue CIPP water main lining. I think Caroline Amiot is here. If anyone has any questions, I don't know. Did you have any comments you wanted to make to? No? Okay. Then over to Councillor Freeman with some questions.
Through you, Mayor McCabe, I'm happy to move the motion. I just do have a couple of questions around the contractual arrangements associated with how long are we providing for them to get a temporary line in place before they shut down this main? Is it in the contract, and do we have performance requirements? I'm learning from my past adventures.
Through you, Mayor McKay, to Council Freeman. Great question. Temporary water is always a challenge with any road reconstruction project, but obviously here this is just the water main, so we need the temporary water. I did make sure there was a specification crafted around, if you're familiar, there's access pits to get to the water main. So they can't do any construction with access pits until the temporary water is hooked up. So
It was just last time they took 8 weeks to commission a temporary line, which meant that people still didn't have water on the 23rd of December.
And I am aware of some of the issues with the later start, and we are a bit later here, but there was also, this is, it's more than half, it's less than half the water main they're lining than the Colonial Acres project. So we're not biting off as much. And we were also cognizant of, there's the school there, so kind of waiting for that to be out to start after. And then there's the Weber Street construction in Teakwood. So just to kind of get those going before we dove in with that work. And like I said, temporary water is always, like, fingers crossed you get your samples to pass, but there's some, and I've seen it. I've seen some projects go perfectly well. Your first rounds go, but it's just the process. You can't gamble with temporary water. So how far do we go until we say hold off? I think we would have to wait and see. I don't think anyone wants temporary water in the freezing. So I think that's something we'd have to cross when we got there. But I do think...
So is there a performance requirement in the contract?
I think Commissioner Ormson would like to speak to this, if I can interrupt.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Freeman. Thanks for your question, Councillor Freeman. I think Caroline's provided some important details. What I'll also add is that, and I think we'd have to check the contract language to confirm the performance requirements, but I can tell you that since the last time and the project you're aware of, your experiences, the DGSSMS specifications have been updated to require that pipe be brought to a site in wrapped condition and it's clean and disinfected, and lots of measures that weren't in place at the time have been instituted to try to prevent a repeat on future jobs. Because as Caroline notes, it's very difficult to get temporary water mains to pass because the tolerance for bacteria is basically zero, and that's very difficult to achieve. So I think we're confident in this case, based on the scope of work and enhancements that have been made based on past experiences, that will be okay.
Okay, I appreciate that. And it's amazing that we had to wait for those specs to change about wrapping the water main, the temporary line, before you bring it on site. But anyways, that's just an aside. That was my only question. And I'm not trying to be the PM for this site. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I guess having lived through it before, or a challenging situation before, I can appreciate where your questions come from. What's that? Okay, especially when it's nearing the holidays. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none. So there's 3 recommendations here. Do I have someone who, Councillor Freeman moved it? Oh, sorry, do you have okay, Councillor Roach will second that. All in favor? That is unanimously carried. Thank you very much, Caroline. And the next item is the 2003 Laurel Creek Culvert Inlet Deck Repair Funding Request, prepared by Michael Stewart. Hello, good afternoon, Michael. I don't know if did you want to speak to it first, or?
I have nothing really.
Okay, all right. So do we have a mover? Okay, Councillor Freeman will move it. Councillor Vasic will second it. Do we have any questions from council about this? Seeing none. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, so we will take council will take a recess right now, and we will reconvene at 6:30 tonight. Thank you very much, everyone.